box in from Gulf Coast Ecosystems. Got a lot of crap in the way here. This is my second attempt at seeding my refugium with some plants beyond just the basic Cato. The end goal, or the high level goal, I guess I should say, I'm looking to grow some macroalgae in the fuge that can be used as a food source for fish upstairs. That would make sense. It would be very symbiotic and you know, help complete the cycle in terms of the system. So what did I get here? I've got 2 packages of Algae, which is a green lettuce-like plant that I'm told the Tangs will love. I've got red Gracilaria. I've got a red sampler pack, which should provide some other red algae. And then, of course, you know, if you're picking up other things, and I got a thing of codium. So, in general, all of the macros that I've picked up are targeted at being edible for fish who choose to eat those. And of course, I also picked up snails, because you know you always need more snails. So I've got some Nitrates, some virgin Nitrates, which are smaller ones, and then Florida Ceres. Okay, so snails number 1. Oh, can we see those? Yeah, we can. All right, those guys are going to go in. Let's get them. Most of the snails I'm going to wind up putting. I've got a bunch of hair algae that's growing in the frag tank. So the goal was to pop a bunch of these guys into the frag tank and get them chewing on stuff in there. I wanted some smaller snails to do that with, because the big, huge snails that I've had in there in the past, they tend to bulldoze stuff and knock it around. So these guys are all going to go in. I'm going to use the Dave Lembo Zen acclimation process for these guys. I'm going to temperature acclimate them and then sort of set them at the top of the water level and see if they go in that way. Let's see if that works. Lots and lots of snails. So I'm going to split these up. Like a few of these guys are going to go in the frag tank, and then probably everybody else is going to go over in the refuge.
I lost the video here, but I've got 4 pictures. You can see the macro comes in bags. They're about a quart in size. Each one is just packed full. There's virtually no air in them at all. Stuffed full of macroalgae. So a really good bargain in terms of the amount of macro you get for the price. I think each of the different offerings were about $8 a piece, which is a pretty decent price for a real literal quart of macroalgae. As I said, I got 2 bags of Algae. I got 1 of codium, 1 of a Gracilaria, and 1 mixed red algae.
So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take snails out of their bags now that they're sort of acclimated temperature-wise. I'm going to throw them into a little bin here. I'm going to put some water in slowly and bring them up to what my system looks like. Inspect a little and see if anybody needs to be called out, if they're, you know, clearly dead or something like that. And then I'm going to Dave Lembo Zen acclimate them by setting them into the glass on the edge and let them crawl up and down as they choose. What can I do for you? You want to be on YouTube? You do? Do you want to be on YouTube? You do? Alright, got rid of the dogs.
I'm going to speed this up, save you from a lot of mumbling and fumbling with bags. I might say here that it's pretty impressive how well everything was packaged. If you're going to order live animals and plants from someone, having them double bag, or in some cases triple bag, the product when they ship it to you, that's pretty good. I'm very impressed with GCE on the way everything was packaged and the shipment. So a little bit on the Dave Lembo Zen acclimation plan, as I mentioned earlier. So the plan, as Dave showed in one of his recent videos, I'll put a link here, was basically you acclimate the animals to temperature, and then instead of actually putting them in the water, you bring them in and you set them right on the edge of the glass, and if they're ready to go in the water, they can crawl down, and if they're not ready to go in the water, they can stay up on the top of the water or even crawl entirely out of the water. So they go in when they feel like. Very Zen approach in terms of how you acclimate the snails. In my case, you can see my arm's already wet at this point. I'm reaching down in, putting them down into the sump because I don't have the kind of patience that Dave has. And certainly I have way too many snails to think about doing this with. I could only hold one or two on the glass at a time, and they just weren't sticking onto the glass. They weren't interested at the least.
Okay, quick update. The few snails that got the Dave Lembo Zen treatment, they appear to be making a break for the rim of the tank. Yeah, whatever. There were a few that were up here to begin with, but most everybody else that got popped down on the bottom, they appear to have bugged out and yeah, they're moving on. They've got so much to eat in here, so that's good. Okay, on the other side, oh, it's tough to tell. There was a lot of snails that went down there. Like I said, I have no patience to do them one at a time like Dave does. He is my hero at this point. But macroalgae that have gone in, there is a couple of different flavors of red stuff that have come in. Red Gracilera is in the back. This is Alba here in front. I've kind of rubber banded that to a rock. I did the same sort of thing in back. This is the Codium here, and I've got another piece over and back there, and then I've placed a couple of stuff. Actually, I did this last week. I made a little basket to try to see if stuff likes to get more light, and I've placed it up top here. Just put it onto the glass with some suction cups, and it gets flow clearly because the input to the fuge here is basically dumping on it. But all right, so those are my experiments. We'll see how stuff grows. Hopefully I have enough nutrients in the water to actually do something with all of this stuff, and it will grow over time, and then I can use it to feed fish. That's the goal. And here we are, just slightly more than 2 weeks afterwards. Some of the red stuff has stuck around. The Alba that I put in is melting away. I've got, oh, I don't know, maybe 20% or less of what I put in originally. Codium looks okay. There were a couple of little leaves of red dragon's breath in things, but in general, my all of my stuff in here is kind of melting away. So that leads me to the next question of, do I have enough nitrates to grow macroalgae? That's the next thing I'm going to play with.
Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, comment, or subscribe if you'd like to see more in this series.